The deception of weakness. The massive command ship of the Valkyrie Confederation, Eternal Dominion, hung against the backdrop of stars like a predator eyeing its prey. Its crystalline surface reflected the distant light of Sol, the unremarkable yellow star that harbored what the Valkyrie considered their next conquest, a blue-green planet called Earth. Commander Drazkor stood before the tactical display, his tall, muscular frame casting a long shadow across the command deck. 6 iridescent eyes studied the holographic representation of Earth with cold calculation. His exoskeletal armor clicked softly as he moved, the sound echoing through the silent bridge. "This is the planet our advanced scouts located?" he asked, mandibles flexing with barely contained excitement. "Yes, Commander," replied strategic analyst Vex Till, her slender form bowing slightly in deference. "The inhabitants call themselves humans. They possess rudimentary nuclear technology, have achieved minimal space exploration within their system, and maintain primitive military capabilities." Drazkor's facial plates shifted into what passed for a smile among the Valkyrie. Another simple conquest for the glory of the Confederation. The overseers will be pleased. For 3 millennia, the Valkyrie Confederation had expanded through the galaxy, subjugating or annihilating any species that stood in their path. Their technological superiority had made conquest almost routine, a process of arrival, demonstration of power, and swift capitulation by the natives. Any resistance was met with overwhelming force until submission or extinction. "Begin the standard protocol," Drazkor ordered. "Send a small attack fleet to their largest population centers. Once they understand their position, we can negotiate the terms of their service to the Confederation." What the Valkyrie didn't know, what no species in the galaxy suspected, was that humanity had been watching them for over a century. 200 meters beneath the surface of Earth's Pacific Ocean, Admiral Helena Chen stood in the Global Defense Command Center. Holographic displays surrounded her, showing real-time data from stealth satellites positioned throughout the solar system. The room hummed with activity as officers and analysts prepared for what they had trained decades to face. "Status report," Chen demanded, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "The Valkyrie command vessel has deployed 27 attack ships," Admiral reported Commander Jackson. "Trajectory indicates they're heading for major coastal cities: New York, Shanghai, Lagos, Sydney." Chen nodded, unsurprised. This matched exactly with the Valkyrie conquest patterns they had observed on other worlds. "Activate Defense Protocol Alpha. Remember, people, we show only our first layer of capabilities. Nothing more." A chorus of acknowledgments echoed through the command center as the order was relayed globally. On screens around the room, green indicators illuminated as Earth's first-tier defense systems came online. For over a century, humanity had maintained a careful facade of technological mediocrity, while publicly celebrating modest achievements in space exploration and computing. A global coalition of nations had secretly poured resources into a shadow technological revolution that leapfrogged conventional development by centuries. It had begun in 2047, when a damaged alien scout ship crashed in Antarctica. The recovered technology provided insights that revolutionized human understanding of physics, materials science, and propulsion. Rather than announcing this discovery to the world, a secret coalition of nations made a fateful decision. Humanity would hide its true capabilities until it was ready to face the stars on equal footing. The Valkyrie attack fleet entered Earth's atmosphere with the confidence of experienced conquerors. Their vessels, sleek crystalline structures that manipulated gravitational fields, had never encountered meaningful resistance from a pre-FTL civilization. "Weapons charged," Commander reported the lead attack vessel's tactical officer. "Indigenous defense systems detected, primitive missile technology, and electromagnetic weaponry." "Proceed with the demonstration," ordered the attack fleet commander. "Target their military installations first, then government centers." As the Valkyrie ships descended toward New York City, their sensors detected the launch of what appeared to be conventional missiles from ground-based silos. The tactical officer didn't even bother raising shields to full power. These primitive weapons posed no threat to Valkyrie technology. Then the impossible happened. The missiles suddenly altered their trajectory with impossible acceleration, their outer casings dissolving to reveal devices unlike anything the Valkyrie had encountered. Before the alien vessels could react, the devices attached themselves to the crystalline hulls and activated. Instead of explosions, pulses of exotic energy rippled across the Valkyrie ships. Their propulsion systems failed instantly. Weapons went offline. Communications died. One by one, the mighty warships of the Valkyrie Confederation began falling from the sky, caught by invisible tractor fields that gently lowered them into waiting containment areas. Similar scenes played out across the globe. Within 17 minutes, the entire Valkyrie attack fleet had been neutralized without a single human casualty. On the Eternal Dominion, Drazkor watched in stunned silence as all contact with his attack fleet vanished. "Impossible," he whispered, mandibles trembling with rage and disbelief. "Recalibrate sensors. Find those ships." "Commander," interrupted the communications officer, "we're receiving a transmission from the planet's surface. It's directed specifically to you." "Display it," Drazkor ordered, his voice low with barely controlled fury. The main screen flickered to life, revealing the image of Admiral Chen. She stood with perfect military posture, her expression calm and professional. "Commander Drazkor of the Valkyrie Confederation," she began, speaking perfect Valkyrie, "I am Admiral Helena Chen of the Earth Defense Force. Your attack fleet has been neutralized and your personnel are unharmed. They will be treated according to the Galactic Sentient Rights Protocols. Protocols we've observed your Confederation routinely violating." Drazkor staggered back, as if physically struck. "How do you know our language? How do you know about the protocols? You're a primitive species." Admiral Chen's expression didn't change. "We've been monitoring galactic communications for decades, Commander. We know everything about your Confederation, its history, its practices, its weaknesses. We chose to remain apparently primitive to avoid drawing attention until necessary." She paused, letting her words sink in. "What you experienced today was our automatic defense system, technology we consider outdated by our current standards. Your attack fleet was defeated by what amounts to our training equipment." Across the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, officers and crew exchanged glances of disbelief and growing fear. Vextil approached Drazkor, her voice trembling. "Commander, if they're speaking truthfully, and these were merely automated defenses." Drazkor silenced her with a gesture. "They must be bluffing. No pre-FTL civilization could develop such technology independently." Admiral Chen seemed to anticipate his response. "You're wondering how we advanced so quickly. Let's just say we're good at learning from others' mistakes. We've observed 17 Valkyrie conquest operations on other worlds. We've analyzed your tactics, your technology, your weaknesses." Her image was replaced by footage showing massive shipyards hidden beneath Earth's oceans and on the far side of the moon. Vessels of designs completely foreign to Valkyrie understanding were under construction, hundreds of them. "You should know, Commander," Chen continued as her image returned, "that what you saw today doesn't represent Earth's military capability. Our main fleet hasn't even been mobilized. What you encountered was simply our perimeter defense." Drazkor found his voice again. "What do you want, human?" "For now, your withdrawal from our solar system. You have 3 hours to retreat beyond the heliopause. After that, we cannot guarantee the safety of your command vessel. And if we choose to bring the full might of the Confederation to bear on your world." Drazkor challenged, knowing that thousands of warships could be summoned with a single communication. Admiral Chen's expression finally changed into something resembling pity. "Then you would discover why we've remained hidden for so long. It wasn't fear, Commander. It was mercy." The transmission ended, leaving the command deck in stunned silence. "Orders, Commander?" asked the tactical officer hesitantly. Drazkor stared at the image of Earth rotating peacefully in the view screen. Everything he knew about galactic development told him this situation was impossible. Yet the evidence before him was undeniable. 27 attack ships neutralized without firing a shot, a supposedly primitive species speaking his language and demonstrating knowledge they shouldn't possess. "Prepare to withdraw beyond the system boundary," he finally ordered, his voice hollow. "And send a priority communication to Confederation High Command. Tell them," he paused, mandibles clicking nervously, "tell them we've encountered something unprecedented." As the Eternal Dominion turned away from Earth, Drazkor couldn't shake the feeling that the galaxy had just fundamentally changed. For the first time in living memory, the Valkyrie Confederation had retreated. Back in the Global Defense Command Center, Admiral Chen watched the Valkyrie command ship accelerate away from Earth. "They're withdrawing, Admiral," reported Commander Jackson. "But based on their communications traffic, they're not giving up. They're calling for reinforcements, a lot of them." Chen nodded, unsurprised. "As expected, begin Phase 2 preparations. Activate the Deep Space Monitoring Network. I want to know the moment their fleet begins to mobilize." "Do you think they'll return with everything they have?" asked Jackson. Admiral Chen turned to face the massive tactical display, showing Earth's true defensive capabilities. Technologies and weapon systems developed in secret over decades, many adapted from principles far beyond what the Valkyrie had achieved. "Of course they will, Commander. The Valkyrie Confederation has never faced defeat in 3,000 years. Their entire identity is built on invincibility." She smiled slightly, "which is precisely why they needed to see that they could be defeated." "And when they return?" Chen's expression hardened. "Then they'll learn why humanity chose to hide its strength for so long. Not because we were weak, but because we understood something they never have." "What's that, Admiral?" "That true power isn't about conquest. It's about knowing when not to use the strength you have." She tapped a command into her console, bringing up the deployment grid for Earth's actual defense fleet, thousands of vessels hidden throughout the solar system, many incorporating technologies that would seem like magic even to the advanced Valkyrie. "Prepare the diplomatic package as well," she added. "When they return, we'll give them a choice: conflict or conversation. Their response will determine whether humanity enters the galactic stage through peace or through war." As alerts began sounding across the command center indicating massive Valkyrie fleet movements at the edge of monitored space, Admiral Chen straightened her uniform and prepared to address Earth's unified defense forces. The waiting game was over. Humanity's long self-imposed isolation was about to end. The question remained: would the galaxy welcome them or fear them? Revelation of power. The Valkyrie High Council chamber pulsed with an ominous crimson light, reflecting the collective rage of the 12 overseers seated around the curved obsidian table. Grand Overseer Thought-Provoking, the eldest and most decorated military strategist in Confederation history, reviewed the battle footage for the 5th time, his primary eyes narrowed in disbelief. "Impossible," he muttered, mandibles clicking in agitation. "No species progresses this rapidly without outside intervention." Commander Drazkor stood at attention, enduring the scrutiny of the most powerful leaders in Valkyrie society. His earlier confidence had evaporated, replaced by something the Valkyrie rarely experienced: doubt. "The evidence is irrefutable, Grand Overseer," Drazkor reported. "Their defensive capabilities far exceed what any pre-FTL civilization should possess, and their claim that what we encountered was merely automated defense systems." "Psychological warfare," interrupted Overseer Vroltak, military director of the Eastern Quadrant. "A primitive attempt to dissuade us from proper retribution." Thought-Provoking raised a clawed hand for silence. "Perhaps. Perhaps not. Either way, this anomaly must be addressed. The Confederation cannot allow even the appearance of defeat to stand." He turned to the Strategic Operations Overseer. "How quickly can we assemble a proper invasion force?" "The 7th and 9th Battle Fleets are already mobilizing, Grand Overseer. 6,000 warships, 200 world breakers, and 50,000 ground assault craft can reach the Earth system within 14 solar cycles. Faxmer's facial plates shifted into the Valkyrie expression of grim satisfaction. Good. Commander Drazkor, you will accompany the Armada as advisor. Whatever technological surprise these humans deployed against your scout force, it will mean nothing against the full might of the Confederation. As you command, Grand Overseer, Drazkor responded with the traditional salute, though uncertainty lingered in his posture. As the council dispersed, Overseer Vexillara, the eldest and most respected scientist among the leadership, approached Drazkor privately. "You're troubled, Commander," she observed, her voice low. "With respect, Overseer, I believe we are underestimating these humans. Their technology, their knowledge of us. Something doesn't align with standard developmental patterns." Vexilara's secondary eyes blinked slowly, a sign of contemplation among their kind. "I've analyzed your sensor readings. The energy signatures from their weapons don't match any known scientific principle in our archives." "What are you suggesting, Overseer?" "That perhaps we should consider the possibility that they were telling the truth, and if so," she left the thought unfinished, but the implication hung heavy between them. If what humanity had demonstrated was truly just their perimeter defense, what terrible power awaited the approaching armada? On Earth, the Global Defense Command Center had transformed. What had been a monitoring station was now the nerve center for humanity's response to the impending Valkyrie return. Admiral Chen stood at the central platform, surrounded by the Joint Chiefs of the United Earth Defense Force. "Latest intelligence confirms it," reported General Ibrahim, head of strategic operations. "The Valkyrie are mobilizing what appears to be their largest battle concentration in 50 years. Arrival estimated in 13 days. Chen nodded, unsurprised. "Status of our preparations. Project Aegis is fully operational," replied Admiral Komatsu, gesturing toward a holographic representation of Earth surrounded by concentric defensive layers. "The outer sensor grid has been enhanced to detect their approach as far out as the Kuiper Belt. Orbital platforms are at 100% capacity." "And the fleet?" Chen asked, turning to Fleet Admiral Rodriguez. Rodriguez's weathered face broke into a rare smile. "The main fleet is assembled and ready, Admiral. 342 capital ships, 12,000 support vessels, and the Prometheus itself, all crewed, armed, and awaiting your command." Chen took a deep breath, feeling the weight of history on her shoulders. For over a century, humanity had prepared for this moment, the revelation of their true capabilities to the galaxy at large. The secret development program that had been humanity's greatest collective achievement was about to be put to the test. "What about the diplomatic package?" she asked, turning to Dr. Eliza Montgomery, Chief of Sinopolitical Affairs. "Ready for transmission at your order, Admiral," Montgomery replied. "Though I must reiterate my concern that the Valkyrie psychological profile suggests they're unlikely to accept any diplomatic solution that doesn't involve our subjugation." "Noted, Doctor. But we'll offer peace nonetheless. That's the difference between them and us." Chen turned back to the tactical display. "Deploy the fleet to their designated positions. Activate the second-tier defenses, but keep the third tier in reserve. Let's see how they respond to our reception committee." As orders flowed outward from the command center, humanity's hidden might began to emerge from its century of secrecy. Massive hangar doors opened on the lunar surface, revealing shipyards that had been concealed from both Earth's general population and any watching eyes from space. From the depths of the oceans rose sleek vessels that bore little resemblance to conventional spacecraft, their hulls composed of materials that absorbed rather than reflected light. From hidden bases across the solar system, buried deep within Mercury's crust, hovering within Jupiter's upper atmosphere, concealed among Saturn's rings, humanity's true defense force assembled. These weren't the automated defensive systems that had so easily neutralized the Valkyrie's initial attack. These were the products of a civilization that had cheated the normal progression of technological development by learning from the stars. 13 days later, the largest Valkyrie battle fleet ever assembled emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Sol system. From the command deck of the dreadnought Inevitable Conquest, Grand Admiral Zexvor surveyed the tactical display with satisfaction. "Forward elements report no resistance at the system boundary," announced his tactical officer. "Proceeding to Phase 1 deployment." "Excellent," Zexvor replied, his voice resonant with authority. "Commander Drazkor, do your sensors detect any sign of these supposed defenses the humans claimed?" Drazkor, relegated to an advisory role, studied his readings carefully. "Nothing yet, Grand Admiral. But I must caution." "Your caution is noted, Commander," Zexvor interrupted dismissively. "But it appears your experience has made you overly apprehensive. I see nothing but an undefended system ripe for conquest." As the vanguard of the Valkyrie fleet pushed inward past Neptune's orbit, the first anomalies appeared on their sensors, subtle gravitational fluctuations that seemed to ripple through space itself. "Grand Admiral," called out the sensor operator, detecting unusual energy patterns ahead. They matched no known phenomenon. Before Zexvor could respond, space itself seemed to tear open. Where there had been empty void moments before, hundreds of vessels suddenly appeared, emerging not from faster-than-light travel, but from what appeared to be localized folds in spacetime itself. "Impossible," whispered Zexvor. "No civilization has mastered spatial manipulation technology." The human vessels were unlike anything the Valkyrie had encountered. They didn't reflect light. They bent it around their hulls, making them appear as rippling distortions against the starfield. Their designs defied conventional spacefaring logic. Asymmetrical configurations that should have been aerodynamically impossible, yet moved with grace and precision that suggested complete mastery of gravitational forces. "We are being hailed, Grand Admiral," reported the communications officer, unable to keep a tremor from his voice. "Display it," ordered Zexvor, his mandibles tight with tension. Admiral Chen's image appeared on the main screen, her uniform different from before, more formal, bearing insignia that marked her as the supreme commander of Earth's combined defense forces. "Grand Admiral Zexvor," she began, again speaking perfect Valkyrie. "I am Admiral Helena Chen of the United Earth Defense Force. Your fleet has entered sovereign human space without permission. I ask that you withdraw immediately, or we will be forced to demonstrate our capabilities more thoroughly than during our previous encounter." Zexvor's posture stiffened with indignation. "You dare threaten the Valkyrie Confederation? Your primitive world faces the largest battle fleet assembled in 5 centuries. Surrender now, and perhaps your species will be permitted to live as servants." Chen's expression didn't change. "That's not going to happen, Admiral. We've prepared a detailed analysis of your fleet's capabilities, along with a diplomatic proposal for peaceful coexistence. I'm transmitting it now. I suggest you review it before making any decisions you might regret." As the transmission ended, data began flowing into the Valkyrie command systems, detailed schematics of their own vessels, complete with annotations highlighting structural weaknesses, tactical blind spots, and vulnerabilities in their weapon systems. The level of analysis was staggering, revealing knowledge that should have been impossible for outsiders to obtain. "How do they have this information?" demanded Zexvor, his composure cracking. "These are classified military specifications." Drazkor stepped forward. "Grand Admiral, if I may, I believe the humans have been observing our civilization, and others, for much longer than we realized. The diplomatic package includes star charts and navigational data for regions we haven't even explored yet." Before Zexvor could respond, the tactical officer called out in alarm. "Grand Admiral, detecting massive energy buildups from the human vessels. They're targeting our command ships with pinpoint precision." "How do they know our command structure?" Zexvor's military training took over. "All units, combat formation. Prepare tow." His order was cut short as a blinding flash of light enveloped his tactical display. When it cleared, the The forward screen showed an impossible sight: 20 Valkyrie heavy cruisers, each capable of destroying an entire planetary defense system, simply gone. Not destroyed in the conventional sense. There was no debris, no radiation signature, nothing to indicate they had ever existed in that space. What happened? Zex-4 demanded, mandibles clicking rapidly in distress. Unknown, Grand Admiral, replied the science officer, voice quavering. One moment they were there, the next, it's as if they were removed from our dimension entirely. On the command channel, Admiral Chen's voice came through again, calm and measured. That was a demonstration of our phase displacement technology, Grand Admiral. Your vessels haven't been destroyed, merely relocated to a containment area near Pluto. Their crews are unharmed but unable to communicate with your fleet. She paused, letting the implication sink in. We could do the same to your entire armada, but we prefer a different approach. Review our diplomatic proposal. We're offering peaceful coexistence, cultural exchange, and limited technological sharing. The Valkyrie Confederation would retain its sovereignty and territory. All we ask is recognition of Earth and its colonies as a sovereign power and non-aggression. As murmurs of disbelief spread through the command deck, Drazkor approached Zex-4. Grand Admiral, if they truly possess the capability to remove our ships at will. Zex-4 silenced him with a gesture, but his usual confidence had evaporated. Tactical analysis. If their claims are true, what are our chances? The tactical officer worked frantically at his station, reviewing the human fleet's demonstrated capabilities against Valkyrie defense systems. Grand Admiral, conservative estimates suggest we would lose 70% of our forces before even engaging their main fleet. And that's assuming their technology operates within parameters we understand. For the first time in his long military career, Grand Admiral Zex-4 faced an enemy that he could not overwhelm through superior firepower. The revelation shook him to his core. "Open a channel to the human admiral," he ordered, his voice hoarse. Chen's image appeared again, waiting patiently. "You could have destroyed us without warning," Zex-4 stated, not a question but an observation. "Why didn't you?" "Because that's not who we are, Grand Admiral," Chen replied simply. "Humanity has watched the galaxy for a century. We've seen civilizations rise and fall. We've observed the Valkyrie Confederation's conquests and the suffering they've caused. We could have emerged decades ago and challenged your dominance, but we chose to wait, to prepare, to ensure that when we finally revealed ourselves, we could do so from a position of strength." She leaned forward slightly. "But strength doesn't have to mean destruction. We're offering you something the Valkyrie have never considered. An equal alliance rather than conquest." Zex-4 was silent for a long moment, weighing 3 millennia of Valkyrie military tradition against the undeniable evidence before him. "I must consult with the High Council," he finally said. "Of course," Chen nodded. "In the meantime, would you like your 20 cruisers returned as a show of good faith?" The gesture, simultaneously diplomatic and a reminder of their overwhelming technological advantage, was not lost on Zex-4. "Yes." As the transmission ended, Drazkor approached his superior. "Grand Admiral, there's something else you should see." He transferred a data packet to the main display. "These are long-range scans taken by our forward scouts before they were neutralized. They show evidence of human presence far beyond their solar system. The images revealed installations bearing Earth insignia on distant moons and asteroids throughout nearby star systems, observation posts, research stations, and what appeared to be early colony developments. They've been expanding silently," Drazkor explained, "establishing footholds in unclaimed systems without alerting any major power. The implications are significant." Zex-4 stared at the evidence, understanding dawning in his eyes. "They've been among us all along, watching, learning, preparing." He turned to his communications officer. "Priority message to the High Council. Subject: recommendation for immediate diplomatic engagement with Earth authorities." As the Valkyrie fleet maintained position, Awaiting instructions from their leadership, the true scope of humanity's strategy became clear. They hadn't just prepared to defend their world. They had methodically positioned themselves to become a major galactic power overnight. From her command chair aboard the UES Prometheus, Admiral Chen watched the Valkyrie fleet with cautious optimism. Beside her, Dr. Montgomery analyzed incoming data from the alien vessels. "They're standing down weapons systems," Montgomery reported. "I think they're actually considering our proposal." Chen nodded, allowing herself a small smile. Humanity's first official contact with galactic civilization, not as supplicants or victims, but as equals. "Do you think they'll accept our terms?" asked her executive officer. "They don't have much choice," Chen replied. "But that's not the point. We could have destroyed them, subjugated them as they've done to so many others. Instead, we're offering partnership. That distinction will echo across the galaxy." As the diplomatic channels buzzed with activity, humanity's long game, a century of patience, preparation, and hidden development, had achieved its ultimate goal. Earth would enter the galactic stage not through conquest or submission, but through the measured revelation of power balanced with restraint. The silent watchers had finally spoken, and the galaxy would never be the same.